Mhm. 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 Hi, I'm Groisha, and let's say way has opened, and all feels clear. And what I've decided to do, with the help of just so many wonderful friends and unconditional love around me, is I've decided to start a listening radio show. Listen Radio. You know, so much of us, we use talk, we verbally process. I mean, I'm a therapist. I mean, gosh, all I do is talk and listen to people talk, you know? But I find that what really serves is when someone feels that you really heard them. You know, when you feel really heard and really seen, there's like a relief that comes over you, you know, because, oh, you get it. Like you see me. Oh, all right. It's like it's weird. It's like we exist sometimes when we're seen. You know, I wonder if it's not about having mirrors in our brains the way we do. So, as Groisha, you know, Madeline Thompson, Groisha being my essence, my creativity, the part of me that's so curious to know and understand and love everybody just like they are. Like I never want you to be different than yourself. You know, I'm inviting voices. I'm inviting voices to conversations on truth, on like what's real, because we're all coming into a new time and it's a time for a foundation, new foundation. And I would say in my, you know, idea of what I'm here to do, I want to do it awake. I want to do it clearly. I want to do it in harmony with each other. I mean, I can get all my own ideas and I can be really righteous and tell everybody how it is, and I suppose that's an option, but it didn't really work to make me so happy the last 50 years, you know? So I'm going to look at it a little differently this time. I'm going to really invite more of what the men, especially, have to say, you know, because I'm a woman, you know, so I understand the girls and the sisters, but I've come into a way of trying to be more controlling than I think I'd ever want to be to a man. I mean, I was gifted 4 sons, and sometimes I don't know that I'm loving them or if I'm trying to make them into something, you know, like to really learn how to let them be who they are and let them teach you what they need to be in harmony. So, we're going to start some conversations about what's happening in our world right now. And I'm going to today invite and share my conversation with Danny. And Danny's just one of those like energies that I couldn't help but want to know more about. And his creativity just oozes from his voice. Like he's just so sweet, and his laugh like giggles with your heart, you know? So I'm just so excited that he's open to supporting me and bringing this out. And for today, he and I will just have one of our conversations and see how the recording works. So, hi, Danny.
Hey, beautifully said as always. Sounds wonderful. I hear it in my heart, and I hear that it's so welcomed by all of us in this process. And I was just, as you were speaking, something came to me that it really is no coincidence here in terms of meaning of just through like what we hear. And this is Listen Radio with Gorisha, so we can in that in that process of hearing. So thank you so much. And let's get into
Right.
this because as you stated so wonderfully, something happening now. This is something that's being created. Both of us are in that process, being open and gratitude as you stated. So let's just talk a little bit about listening show or listen
Listening.
radio.
Well, let me ask you, you know, one of the
Well,
things that every
yeah,
person
it's listen.
every person likes different things to, when they're being heard, right? Like obviously they probably don't all like to be interrupted, like I just interrupted you, you know. So like, do you prefer to have it reflected back? Like, do you prefer to have what you say reflected back? Do you prefer nods? Like, you know, because I feel like some people are very sensitive to certain things when they're trying to share, you know. And as a mom like lady and a big voice, you know, and somebody's sharing, a lot of times my voice cuts in, you know, even if someone's talking about something important, when my voice starts, they're like, oh, she wants to talk, you know. So I really want to learn for your listening.
Mm.
And one time I was at this beautiful it was a Jewish based thing, and they had a word that they said. I don't remember the exact word. I'll have to look into it, or we can make up our own. But when you were done sharing, you said this word, and then when everybody knew you were done sharing, they said another word back to you, like, "We heard you." Do you know what I mean? And I really liked the way that felt, because you
Mm.
knew when the person was done, and you knew that you were heard. So that's one of the things that I'm wondering, how would we create that in this dynamic, that people feel like their listening style is being, or we create a way that when it's your turn, it's your turn, and when you're done, you say this, and then we say this, and then we know it's someone else's turn. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. I like that. I like that. You know, it reminds me of counsel. You know, of just sitting in counsel and having like the talking stick. So when you're in each other's presence, that actual physical, someone grabbing it and holding it really solves this case, because we're this physical presence. It could be like a word. It could be, but I like the idea that if the intention is in our way, I feel like if we just really continue to establish what the intention is, that it is the listening intention. If we just stay in that intention, we will act. So I think by just stating that in the beginning, by just really hearing that inside of us as we're listening, we'll develop more of a discipline. We'll develop more as an example, be more because the listeners that then other people do and be in that space. I think by just establishing the concept of listen radio over, I think it will sort of take on that type of conversation. So, and it's kind of answering your first question when you asked how I like to be heard, or do I need it? Do I like it reflected back to me? What was making me feel really good was a part of something. That even as you were talking, I was with you. I'm a part of this. I think when that's established, when we feel like we're in this together, this is our conversation, this is our talking. We're doing it because we are all creating this intention, and that feels good. Then whatever happens within that feels good. Those what I think would be the two things that come to me about just really establishing the clear intention, and everyone in gratitude for, like you do so wonderfully, and then just having that intention of powerful listening in us. It'll up. For example, last thing I'll say is with counsel, there was only four rules group that I was doing a few years ago, and the four rules were speak with an open heart, listen with an open heart, speak, and be spontaneous. So even if something's coming up, it's how do I present it in a way that gets it out, but then also leaves a lot of space for others.
So I heard you say, speak with an open heart, listen with an open heart, be spontaneous. But what was the other one?
Oh, that's the big one. That was keep your speech lean. So what you're keep it lean. So where you might need to explain it or go on a tangent or do more, just trust and find a way to deliver it in a way that gives everyone else time too.
Oh, that'll be a trick for me, speaking it lean. That's a good one to remember. That's good.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about what it looked like.
All right.
What it looked like for you to be lean. So what would that look like for you? What process would that be? Love and giving, would that involve for you?
Well, sometimes
to show up in a lean way here in this.
Nice question, Danny. I've definitely learned that I'm a verbal processor. That's one of the ways I manage my emotionality is through words, right? And it took a long time to learn to use words in a way that were kinder and more helpful, and not just me kind of like releasing venom on things, you know? So I feel like to make it lean at this point in my life, it has a lot to do with breath, you know, because I feel like sometimes I talk in a big long exhale, you know, and I'm not as precise about what I really want to say as I am determined to get out what's in my way. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, just get it out of me here, you know? But that doesn't make me conscious of the person listening, right? That's just like I put the hose on and I'm just squirting stuff, you know? So I think to be lean has all to do with being in peace, right? Because when I'm in peace and have more stillness, when I speak, it'll come through that way, and there'll be less to say, because in peace, you know, you're just in peace.
Yeah.
You know, like, you're just chilling.
I like that. So let me jump in, because I want to back that. That was an awesome point, and beautifully like processed in front of us, and then tied into the concept, and where you might think you need to say more, to like, that was beautiful. That was such a gift, and so much. And right next to peace, I think, lives trust, that that's all received, that it's all there, and that an opportunity is abundant for more expression, for more reception. I feel that in my heart. It's so wonderful. I want to say too that was inspiring to hear, because I feel like what's the really beautiful possibility is that use this form, listen, parallel, maybe right after you finish. Every time you do a whole just one-on-one camera, just talking for as long as you want about what came to you, what you feel, so you can, because I don't think there's any suppress your truth and who you are, which I think is awesome. The fact that you can talk for long periods of time, which is beautiful insight, is awesome, and not to be changed or repressed. So maybe this is a practice as a discipline, but maybe the joy of your expression should be equally practiced during this time, and maybe it's just used right after this. Maybe go something like that. I think that could be a wonderful thing, because there's nothing wrong with how you express.
Oh, Danny, thank you so much for saying that, you know, especially as a man, right? Because, you know, I don't know if it's your Spanish background or just your personality, but like, you're a man who can keep up with the girls, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're a guy who can go with that crazy rate that we go, out of the stuff, you know what I mean? Like, so thank you to your sisters, thank you to your family, thank you to your ex-wife, you know, everyone who's helped to love you, to give you that way of being, you know? Because for me, being surrounded by men in the world that I live in, my use of words and language in the excessive way is a deterrent sometimes to relationships. So I find myself oppressing myself. I find myself trying to, like, there was this young man who stayed at my house for some time, and he used such interesting language. He said that a woman has a womb to receive your womb. And a man doesn't have that space in himself to take all that in. And sometimes when a woman opens herself up like that, and she's a vast, beautiful vessel, as he perceived me to be, it's so overwhelming, and you don't know what to say or do, so you don't feel adequate. He says there's like a way that sometimes women just open up so big and so gushy that it just washes over everything. You know, and I was like, oh my goodness, I've never thought of it like that. You know, because I'm just like, oh my gosh, I got to turn the water on. I got to get something out. You know, it's just like, and he's telling me that, because I see it in the people's faces sometimes when I talk. I see them kind of get like, you know, like they're getting hit with waves over the top of their head. And sometimes like, wow, that's amazing, but holy shit, is it going to stop? You know what I mean? And so I like that you're reminding me that that flow does have beauty in it, that it does create a space for my insight and what I see and how I understand things. Because my lens, like everybody's lens, is precious. It's nice to have your lens welcomed.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. This is great. This is just great for us to acknowledge each other. This is so important, because it's true. As you were speaking, literally that was the metaphor in my mind, the water, the rushing. And you know, one thing that did come to me is that, you know, people used to take baths at one point in the evolution of humanity because that was available, how to capture, how to move energy, how to that. Showers came later, and a lot of people still have that like preference, but showers are awesome. It's really like not right or wrong. It's just different ways of that washing, different ways of that processing. And witless, I really want to acknowledge you for the fact that if someone is also a reflection of their bigness as a container, as a vessel, that's a beautiful thing for people to keep moving into their larger sense of openness and being able to receive, being a larger vessel for more, which is a huge gift, because in this process, part of what we're doing, becoming that vessel to receive the additional love that's available. So the fact that you're allowing people the space to practice that is really awesome. But I also wanting and knowing that that wants to equally be able at your choice to be that listening silence space of non-verbation. And that's great too. And I relate to that way very much. So we're silent that we're giving in such a way, equally if not talking, because of our intention space. So I think this is a great expand ourselves in all ways. I want to hear anything that brings up for you, and then I want to share something we wrote last night that you remind of in terms of kindness. And I just wrote it, so I don't know relate, but again, thank you for that. And I think just these conversations are nice because people can see it's always in process. It's always in process. Sincerity is a beautiful time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I feel full from what you said because I feel so heard, right? So I don't feel like I have to qualify anything, you know? I feel like you get it, you know? And I'm really trusting that way is opening, you know, because I know that the men and the women really do unconditionally love each other and understand that everything that happened is what needed to happen to get us to where we are, you know? So the more we can kind of give birth to new ways together through really listening, that'd be great, you know? That'd be really great.
Oh, that was perfect. Oh, so beautiful. I want to just wind this down. I think we've kind of said a lot, and I think it's perfect. I just want to say two things that I received conversation from you about even a way to do this, to be in this, and it was what you said before, breath, and what's happening with us every time, which is a smile. And that goes back to what I want to read to you here in a second, but I think after we speak, it's the breath and the smile. I think those really beautiful mechanisms.
And that's so exactly what I do as a person. And when I do the women's sisterhoods, after a person shares, we all take 2 or 3 breaths so we can really digest what they did. And then a smile or a nod or whatever you have in you towards that person. So that's perfect, Danny. You're so smart.
Okay. I want to read this short little thought.
Give it up.
I want to read this short little thought that I got last night. We can say goodbye. And just in full disclosure, you and I will talk after this and go from there.
We'll be able to watch it.
In a public sense, I do want to take an opportunity. Yeah, we'll watch it. But in a public sense, I just want to take an opportunity. If we do end up sharing this with the world, whoever's watching this, and send, and I feel it in my heart, just send that sincere humanness of knowing and not knowing, of things that we feel that we're in process of, that somehow we describe differently or express differently or feel differently, but just somehow to just really say thank you, and I need you, and I love you, and all those things that we are. And to say thank you so much to you, and that this is really medicine. It's medicine. So you're doing it. So thank you. I'm going to let you respond, but I just want to read this thought that I wrote last night, and just to share. It says, if love is the creative force of infinite possibilities, it's bonding. Amid immeasurable force, we are held together by our tenderness. In spite of our selfish stumblings, kindness makes a welcoming to rise and fall, to dance the open arms of shared joy and affirmation. Just shine the brightest eyes, and all of chaos bows before a smile.
Nice. Well, I feel tender hearing it, I tell you that. So that's awesome. And if, this does go out, please, we are so curious to know you, to understand you, to harmonize and co-create with you. So listen, and when it feels like it's your turn to talk, please know that we're going to listen. And we're going to ask you to speak in a way that's kind and tender and from your heart, so that no part of us wants to fight you, but only know you and understand you. Love you.
So awesome, Ellen. Thank you so much. This has been really wonderful. And yes. Soon for Listen Video with Croatia, and you'll learn more about what that is as we move forward, and we'll learn more about what you have to share. So I would like to say thank you and goodbye. And you say goodbye.
With my broken wrist. Goodbye. Thank you so much. I'll see you later.